Welcome back, dear students, in this third module that we are doing in Introduction to Communication. So today we are going to discuss different types of communication, and we are starting with verbal and non-verbal communication. So I'm going to take you through a journey where we are going to discuss what are the types of verbal communication and what are the types of non-verbal communication, and how you can understand what verbal and non-verbal communication is all about. So when we are talking of communication, actually there are different types of communication: verbal communication, non-verbal communication, interpersonal communication, intrapersonal communication. There is also small group communication and public communication, mass line communication and mass communication. And if you go to the business world, you have also formal communication and informal communication. So do not get confused with that. All those are also types of communication, but today we are going to discuss verbal communication and non-verbal communication. So verbal communication is communication based on language and is verbal. However, we need to remember that verbal communication that uses words could be both vocal verbal communication and non-vocal verbal communication. So what is the difference then? So when we say vocal verbal communication, vocal language includes communication which includes spoken language. It includes oral communication. So vocal communication or oral communication refers to messages that are communicated or transmitted using sound waves from one individual to another. Speaking is therefore verbal communication. The defining distinction of oral communication is that it involves the production and transmission systems of the human voice and is aimed towards the auditory reception system of another person. Okay? So then now let's understand by what we mean by non-vocal verbal communication. So non-vocal verbal communication includes written communication. Written communication that uses languages and words and is verbal, but it is non-vocal. It can also include braille or other similar alternatives to verbal language. For example, a written letter is a non-vocal verbal communication. It doesn't involve my voice, it doesn't involve sound waves, it is written but it involves words. Okay? So written and the usage of words is called non-vocal verbal communication. So hope you understood verbal communication. Now let us look at non-verbal communication. So Albert Mehrabian, a great scholar known for his publications on the relative importance of verbal and non-verbal messages, says there are basically three elements in any face-to-face communication. It could be the words, the tone of voice, and non-verbal behavior. Of course, this sentence is debated, but there is some truth in it. Non-verbal communication includes communication without words. Communication need not only be with words. When persons are involved in verbal communication, we often observe other unspoken elements that happen simultaneously, which include body movements or body language. A person may speak with a bright smile or with a frown. The smile or the frown adds to the meaning of the message. So non-verbal language of communication is equally important as verbal communication. Dance, architecture, artifacts, ritual, signs, nodding of the head, moving of the hands, all these are part of non-verbal communication. And there are different dimensions of non-verbal communication, and we are going to look at them. For example, let me express to you what I actually mean by non-verbal communication. I am not angry. I told you I am not angry. What do you understand by this enactment that I just did? I am telling you I am not angry, but my face, my expression, my frowning, all this tells you that I am actually angry, but verbally I am telling you that I am not angry. So you see, the non-verbal communication of my eyes, my frowning, my temper is far more stronger than what I'm saying with my words that I am not angry. So this is one simple example to explain to you the power of non-verbal communication. Now, let us come to the different types of non-verbal communication, and where do you see different types of non-verbal communication? For example, dance. Dance is also a non-verbal communication. It is very expressive. It communicates. It is often used to tell a story or narrate an event. It can also be simply put as entertainment or creativity. But dance is an integral element of many cultures and it is very expressive. So different cultures have traditional dances that depict their cultural heritage, richness, it depicts stories, and it also depicts many important factors of life. So dance is used for varied purposes. Now in dance you have something called bhavas or mudras. Bhava in India basically means that many of the classical dances have the element of bhava, which expresses different feelings or emotions, anger, or let's say sorrow or anxiety. All this is expressed through facial expressions. In other Western countries, it could be the expressions on the face of the dancers in a ballet or perhaps any other dance performance. Albeit the fact that the term bhava is used in the context of Indian classical dance forms, all dances have bhava. It's just that the word differs. Artifactual communication, dress, ornaments, and personal artifacts reveal a lot about one's personality, taste, and choices. So, what do you mean by artifactual communication? It basically means that messages that are conveyed by handmade objects are artifactual. This could be one's dressing aesthetics, the color combinations that one uses, jewelry, hairstyle, clothes, etc. All these are artifactual. Often our cultures and our society dictate the way we wear clothes, use ornaments or carry ourselves. For instance, in India, especially in rural India, the symbol of a married Hindu woman is indicated by sindoor or the red vermilion powder that a woman uses on her forehead in the hair partition. In some other states, the symbol of marriage is either the woman wearing red bangles or green bangles, or more importantly, the black beaded Mangal Sutra, or sometimes it can be golden beads. A funeral dress code is also another example. While in most corners of India, the Hindus will wear white for a funeral, Christians in states like Goa will wear black. These are all elements of artifactual nonverbal communication. Now let's look at body movements and gestures or kinesics. A loving gaze from a mother for her child can be very consoling. A pat on the back for a great performance can be very encouraging for a student. An angry look can frighten a student who has done mischief. All these are examples of body movements and gestures. They are nonverbal communication. In India, people join hands in a respectful manner while saying Namaste. In some other Asian countries, people bow to welcome you. In Western countries, people give a warm handshake to welcome you. These are all elements of nonverbal communication. Gestures are movements of the head, hand, leg or body that express an idea or emotion. The word kinesics means the study of body movements, facial expressions, childlike behaviors and gestures that was developed by Ray Birdwhistell in the 1950s. Facial expressions communicate feelings and emotions. Often expressions communicate the attitude of a person and give an idea regarding the personality of any individual. A laughter, a smile, a frown, narrowed eyes, etc., could exhibit friendliness, anger, or disbelief. Secondly, eye contact and oculesics. A look can often express emotions. An angry look looks to the narrowing of the eyes or the dilation of the eyelid. Children often have their eyes wide open when they are fascinated or surprised. So, this study of eye contact and pupil dilation in terms of nonverbal communication is called oculesics. This is also nonverbal communication. You can communicate with your eyes. Personal characteristics or the way a person carries oneself also does matter. Often small elements like body odor, choice of clothes, all this becomes nonverbal elements of communication. Another important element is touch, tactile communication as we can call it, or haptics. A touch can indicate anything. A touch can be consoling, comforting, loving, romantic, or even aggravating, especially when it is unwanted. A handshake, a kiss, a pat, holding hands, high fives are all nonverbal communication. The study of communication using touch was termed as tactile communication. Today, the study of touch is popularly called haptics. Touch in different cultures would mean differently. For instance, in India, in an urban setup like a city, you are permitted to hold hands as friends with either a boy or a girl. But it is totally unacceptable in remote villages in India. Any element of nonverbal communication is enriched by the culture one lives in. So, the cultural practices in village may be very different from the cultural practices in the city. The cultural context, signs and symbols, manner of touch, etc., differs not just from country to country, but from state to state and even village to village. Now, let us look at another type of nonverbal communication, and that is paraverbal communication or paralanguage or vocalics. Paraverbals or paralanguage is an element of nonverbal communication, and it conveys emotions and attitudes consciously or unconsciously. For instance, a person who yells while saying that he is not getting irritated or she is not getting irritated has already proved through the tone of the voice that he or she is actually getting aggravated or irritated, like I already showed you at the beginning of this class. We often hear people saying that tone is so sarcastic. A whistle, a tone, a raise in one's pitch while talking, a deliberately produced cough or sign, all these are all indicators of nonverbal communications that communicate much more than words alone. Vocalics is the study of paralanguage, which includes the vocal qualities that go along with verbal messages, such as pitch, volume, vocal quality and verbal fillers. So, different scholars have written on this topic in their books. So, many of the scholars divide paralanguage into 4 parts. Voice qualities, which means it includes factors such as pitch, resonance, volume, raise and rhythm. Vocal characteristics like embracing laughter, coughing, throat clearing, sighing, all these are examples of that. Vocal qualifiers refer to variations in pitch and volume, and voice segregates include the silent sounds such as ah, okay, pause. All these clues influence the meaning. Now let's look at silence. Silence is also a very, very important nonverbal communication. A silence could indicate anger, frustration, ignorance or attitude. It could mean a refusal. Silence is also an element of nonverbal communication. Space and distance or proxemics. Space and distance around us is also an important factor that can speak volumes about individuals. Ominu Agnus says that proxemics can be defined as the study of means in which individuals make use of the physical space in the interaction between the individuals. This process of owning the space by above said means differs from culture to culture. If two people are standing close to each other and are communicating very freely, it indicates that they know each other well to be so close to each other. But at a bus stop, even if you're standing in a queue and if you receive a push from a stranger, it could lead to a fight. If the stranger's push seems deliberate and transgressing your space, there could be an even bigger fight. A public speaker speaks from a podium which is at a distance with a crowd that is very far. The same public speaker, after returning home, takes his baby in his lap or her lap and speaks to her. So the space matters. So these are all the different types of nonverbal communication that we have discussed today. In the next module, we will be doing formal and informal communication. So see you in the next module.